Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
Talk about the Crocs.
Do you have anxiety?
Uh, yeah, yeah. And if we're being real for a minute, yeah, anxiety and depression. Yeah, I've struggled with it for.
Did you take medicine?
Yeah. I've tried antidepressants and uh, like ADHD. You know, medication for that. But antidepressants, man, I don't. I don't know. I don't want to say like they can't help people,
Yeah.
like, because I definitely think there are people who benefit from it, but like for me, honestly, I think it made things worse. Really,
Yeah. Yeah.
it like they did not help me. And
No.
then because it's such like you start taking like an antidepressant, you can't like if you don't like the way it makes you feel, or if you don't like side effects, whatever, you can't just well, I'm not saying you can't, but it's not recommended, not safe to just stop taking it
Yeah.
just because of the side effects uh that
Oh,
can
dude,
bring
I
around.
dealt. Yeah, I dealt with it there for a while. If we're gonna get real about it, but I dealt with it there for a while. Not the depression part, really, but the anxiety part. And it took years to kind of get over. And now I'm at a point that I can control it, and I'm fine now. Like I can be in a situation that gets me there, but I've got these coping mechanisms that I've came up with over the years. Excuse me, and I can like tone it down.
Yeah.
I still get the after effect. I think the worst part about it all is the after effect of it, because you just feel like death is like just looming over you because you're like exhausted. You're so drained. You got brain fog. You just feel like you can't even associate with anyone in society or
Yeah.
anyone in your
Oh
family.
yeah.
And like when I was taking the medicine that they prescribed me, and I can't remember what the antidepressants were called. I think they didn't give me. I think they gave me Lexapro one time, uh, and then they gave me something else. I can't remember what it was the other time. But like, I think it was like backwards, because I didn't have any depression until I took that medicine. And
Yeah.
like I was laying on the couch for like 2 weeks, and like, dude, all you do is cry and have just horrible thoughts. And like they're like, call like if anybody that's listening to this, seriously, I know how that feels. If you've been through that, it gets better. I promise. It's always going to get better. It's you just got to deal with it for
Yeah.
that little period of time that feels like a lifetime. But I've dealt with it myself, and Matthew has to. You can overcome it,
Yeah.
and don't be afraid to talk to somebody.
Oh man,
That's a
that's a
huge
big one.
stigma.
And
But go ahead. I'll go
oh no,
ahead.
no,
I'll finish.
no, you're good. I was just gonna say, like, talking about it, that's a big one. That's a big thing that I think tremendously helps that I can never do.
Yeah, seriously.
Never.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a hard one. You don't want to talk to somebody about it. And then, it's sometimes it's too late. Don't let it be too late.
Yeah.
But like the medicine for me was like it put me in a depression, and I was in it for 2 weeks, and like we talked to the pharmacist, we talked to doctors, everybody, and it was like they're like, our hands are tied. We don't know much more that we can do.
Yeah.
And it was like I didn't need to talk to a therapist, because I was like I was fine on that end. I was like I didn't need to talk to somebody like that. I had people that I would talk to um, about it a lot, and it was like I literally sat down one night, and I never sat down. I've never told anybody this other than Kate. I can't believe I'm about to say it out to everybody. But it's, we're on that topic, and I feel like it could help somebody that's listening.
Yeah.
I literally sat out in my driveway. This was years ago. This was probably like, oh gosh, this was probably like 14 years ago, 12 years ago. It was a long time. And I literally sat in the driveway and cried for like 30 minutes. And I sat there and prayed. And I've always been a Christian, and I will never not be one. But there was at times that you feel like you're prayers do not get answered and you don't understand what the purpose of that is.
Yeah.
And I laid in the driveway. I know it sounds so cliche, and cried and prayed. And I was just like, I've got to have some relief. I was like, this is unbearable.
Yeah.
The sadness that just looms over you. And dude, I went in the house. All I done was sleep. I went in the house and laid down. And the pharmacist called to check on me. And she was, I don't know what to tell you to do. But all I know is just to cut back on the medicine and slowly wean yourself. That was, like I said, that was about 45 minutes after I did all that in the driveway. I come in, she calls me and tells me that it was time to take the medicine. I was supposed to take half of a pill. I took the half and broke it in half and took a fourth. I took that fourth. It wasn't 5 seconds after I took that fourth. I flipped. It was like a switch flipped in me.
Yeah.
I flipped all the way around. I was back to normal in an instant after taking that medicine. And I was like, the medicine helped, but I was like, I couldn't not acknowledge the prayer that I prayed earlier was everything I was asking for happening right there in that moment.
Yeah.
And dude, it was just insane. And since that day, I weaned myself off that medicine. And I just took it slowly because in my mind, if I have to take medicine for something like that, I feel like it's always going to hold me down. Not hold me down, but it's always going to have a grip on my life.
Right.
If I go somewhere and I don't take that medicine, I'm going to freak out. I'm like, oh my God, I'm starting to have this feeling. I don't have my medicine. I'm going to flip out and I'm going to do it in public, which is going to make it 10 times worse because all these people are going to be watching me and I'm going to feel way worse about it after the fact. And then you're going to have to deal with everybody asking you about it. And you're like, I don't want to deal with that. So I literally, after I got myself weaned off that, I did that for a week and I got myself weaned off that medicine. I started looking up coping mechanisms and I took and threw the medicine away and I started practicing those coping mechanisms. And it took me about 7 years of talking myself out of it and doing those coping mechanisms and bringing myself down from that high anxiety feel to right when I feel it coming on, I can start with those coping mechanisms, and within 5 seconds, I can literally cut it out.
Yeah,
and I did not. That was my key thing. I was headstrong on not letting medicine have a hold of me in that situation.
Yeah,
because I believed everything in that moment that sparked that was from that prayer that I prayed in the driveway. And I was like, I just cannot believe that the medicine is what changed that because it was too much of a coincidence.
Yeah. And I don't believe in coincidences, man. You're right.
I've never told anybody. I've told Kate, I think.
Yeah.
I've never told anybody else. It's crazy.
Dude, that's so deep. That's so true though. Talking about like letting the medicine like have a grip on you, have a control, like where if you don't take it, then you can't be normal, can't feel normal.
Yeah. Yeah, for real. I can't. Keep on. The other side of it.
Oh man. Dude, that's deep too. And what he said about, talking about it and talking about your problems is telling somebody, whether it's your spouse or a friend, whoever, that's a huge thing because I know like firsthand of what holding it in looks like and not telling anybody, just keeping it to yourself and bottling up all these emotions until it gets to a point where you can't bottle it up anymore and you can't hold it in. And usually at that time, when it gets that bad where you can't hold it in. You can't bottle up those emotions. You're at a breaking point, and usually, things are spiraling out of control. When talking about it could have helped, way at the beginning. But talking about, let's say, you said you'd never told anybody else,
that
but
I can
Kate,
think of.
yeah,
Like I might have in the past, maybe somebody because I've told people bits and pieces of it because
yeah,
it's not because I was afraid to tell it. I'm not afraid to tell it. I mean, I just told a bunch of people that. I mean, I don't know how many people's going to listen to this, but you know, I told some people that was kind of going through the same thing because everybody's different. What helped me might not help you, and all I can do is hope that you find the thing that helps you. You
yeah.
know, but that's the only reason. But I don't think I've ever told anybody that whole spill. I might have, but it's been years, so it's been so long that I can't remember.
Yeah.
If that kind of sums it up.
I'm kind of the same way. Like,
It just makes you numb. The medicine did.
oh yeah, 100%.
Like this blank.
But like
Like
talking,
sometimes I think like like I got a lot going on during the day, and like you come home and it's like there's a lot to do at home or whatever, and you've been doing stuff all day, you've been working, or even if it's just on a weekend, and your wife's been doing stuff all day, and the kids are going crazy, and
you're like overstimulated.
yeah, and you're like, boy, I'd just love to take a mouthful of Lexapro and turn into a lampshade. Hey, that was about the only benefit to it, and that just lasted a very short time.
Yeah, yeah, man, I can relate all too well. In fact, really, that's something like depression is something that I still struggle with. Like more than probably most people, more than anybody knows. Actually, I've only ever told uh, Taylor and one other person, who like kind of like you had said, who has similar issues.
Yeah,
Man, that's something I still struggle with every every single day, if I'm being honest.
yeah,
And they're the only thing, really, the only thing that keeps me, I don't know, keeps me above water is my faith. Staying close to God. That has helped me more than any medication ever will. There at one point, man, I was looking for, I don't know, anything like any kind of medication or any kind of coping mechanism that would make me feel normal and
yeah,
that gave me immediate relief.
yeah,
Because I wanted all this to go away like now.
yeah,
But I think at a certain point I realized like I was looking to the world for a solution to a spiritual problem.
yeah. It's a marathon, not a race.
Oh yeah,
That's what I feel like. That's one thing I've learned through it. It is not something. Then that's one thing I've told everybody that I've dealt with, that I've talked to, that deal with this, that kind of have asked me. Um, it is something that does not go away overnight. It is something that you
yeah,
have to keep fighting at. You're gonna take the little wins.